2024, a world gripped by overworked and burnt-out SOC analysts. Businesses are dealing with razor-thin budgets, spending cuts, and shrinking headcount. Automation, once feared for its dominance, now frees overworked analysts, bridging the cybersecurity skills gap and drowning out irrelevant signals. On the verge of SecOps collapse, the dreaded rise of machines becomes humanity's last hope in a world shrouded in darkness.
Save the analyst. Save the world.
Wow, that's a downer. Hi, I'm Britt from Torq. It can be hard out there for a SecOps analyst, but we also know there is a solution on the horizon. I'm so honored to be talking about that solution today with Torq's co-founder and chief technology officer, Leonid Belkind. Leonid, welcome.
Thanks, Britt, and I'm equally honored to be here.
Is it really that scary out there for SecOps teams?
Scary? Well, it's relative, but it is definitely challenging to be out there. And the main challenges that all SecOps teams are battling with for quite some years are these. First and foremost, there is a talent shortage. I know everyone is talking about it, but it doesn't make it less real. Talent shortage of thousands, tens of thousands of specialists that need to deal with analyzing the security threats. Second of all, as we all know, business is becoming more digital, which is great, but it introduces more technology with higher velocity, increasing our attack surface, and considering the talent shortage, who is going to protect us all here? The resulting, maybe the worst of all challenges, is a huge and growing, despite being huge, alert fatigue of the people that we do have dealing with the challenges that we are looking at. The result, unfortunately, does not sound good for the digital businesses today and tomorrow, unless we do something about it. And what we will be proposing to do in this webinar is to consider allowing machines to take over the large volume, repetitive tasks so that the people we have can focus on the real things, can improve our security posture, and can grow as professionals, deliver quality outcomes. That's the plan in short.
Okay, so Leonid, what can the machines actually do? What's in it for us?
Britt, machines are great at bringing order into the chaos, especially when the chaos consists of millions of different data points. A hyper-automated SOC's ability to sift through huge amounts of events, enrich them, filter them, prioritize them, correlate them, and aggregate them is at the core of the machine's way better than humans' ability to deal with the modern security operations reality. Now, the data itself can be collected through a variety of different sources. Anything from API polling, any kind of message queues by Amazon, Google, Microsoft, anything coming from CLI, webhooks, TCP connections, and it is very important to be able to collect it effortlessly from multiple sources, because this is what gives your security signals fidelity that allows the machines to keep on processing it and eventually to help human analysts focus on what really matters in this sea of events, because quite frankly, vast majority of these signals are not actionable, and it's finding those that are that allows us to bring strong security operational posture.
Okay, that makes sense. But machines can't give us the context we need to understand what we're looking at, right?
Quite frankly, nowadays they can. They can collect this context from a myriad of additional third-party systems and introduce intelligent, sometimes even intelligent non-deterministic processing, leveraging things such as large language models, in order to provide the machine equivalent of making sense out of it. Later on, this sense and follow-up logic that is implemented on top of it, again, allows human SOC analysts to look at less information, to look at more prioritized information, and to look at the information that has already been prepared in a way that gears up for a follow-up action. Consider decision support system for an analyst, something that doesn't just present information, but presents information doing the most of guiding the human analyst to a follow-up operation. In this fashion, we believe that we can automate away up to 95% of all activities that are performed today in course of analysis, containment, and eventual remediation of security signals.
All right, this is starting to sound a little too sci-fi for me. This must be the part where the humans come in and take control of the situation, right?
Actually, not just yet. So what's happened up until now is that the blatantly irrelevant signals were filtered out. The somewhat relevant and very relevant signals have been enriched, prioritized, aggregated to something more meaningful. Now, the automation keeps on doing the good work for us. It may pick which human role players should be involved and orchestrate their involvement. And if they do not answer within the required service level agreements, it will orchestrate the escalation, driving to bringing the human intervention to a point where all the data has been pre-collected for them. They need to make their decision on the relevant, most pressing incidents in that particular order, bringing all their human experience, ingenuity, creativity, and whatnot, after which the automation still keeps on working and implements the containment or remediation strategy of their choice. So much better than wiggling in under pressure. We do an implementation of pre-planned, pre-canned plan. And again, remember the goal. Our goal is to automate away up to 95% of all human activities in order to handle the incident and drive it to a resolution with a much, much shorter mean time to resolve. This, at the end of the day, is the outcome of the hyper-automated SOC. Way faster resolution, way higher fidelity of identification of signals, and providing not only deterministic outcomes, but also soft outcomes. The people that are involved start being involved only when they're needed. Start dealing with more creative, more challenging rather than repeatable high-volume tasks, all contributing to the bottom line of a significant improvement in the security posture and in the operational efficiency.
Leonid, you mentioned that alert fatigue is a huge issue for SecOps teams, and we know that this is a very big challenge in the cybersecurity industry. Tell me, how are bots helping to alleviate alert fatigue, and what are some of the common automations that you're seeing?
Oh, absolutely. First and foremost, by the way, it is important to mention that in quite a lot of our current customers, we are dealing with companies that already have some experience trying to adopt automation, usually using traditional SOAR tools. And while they have reached a certain level of automation, the sort of like return on investment, how much they need to invest in automating something versus how quickly and how frictionlessly it starts working for them, usually the ratio is not in their favor, and they cannot really go ahead and automate everything they'd like to, nowhere near to that with the current tool set. So when we look at the most frequently experienced scenarios, let's look at the three of the biggest, let's call it activity hogs. First and foremost, traditional Security Operations Center, SOC events pipeline. Receiving an event, pulling the information from it, figuring out if there is a unique event or it's a duplication, going and enriching it with external attack surface data, with threat intelligence data, with some historical data about the user, about the device, about the network, about the application, making sure that the priority of all the assets, again, user, application, device, data involved in it, impacts on its priority, delivering it to the relevant team to be handled by priority, offering the users in this team when they are starting to investigate an event, what are the most common additional information sources that they can pull in should they decide that it's important, orchestration of the most efficient event pipeline inside Security Operations Center all the way to event resolution, be it classification as false positive or true resolution of a true positive, is one field where we see a lot of applications. Second field, probably, and entirely out of the scope of what traditional SOAR solutions were even targeting, is what we call security processes. Believe it or not, and I think you will believe it, security teams today handle a lot of things per request. Request of business line application owners, request of people who employ external contractors and want to register them in the system, etc., etc., etc. Today, these requests work through painful, IT service management processes where somebody opens tickets, wait for tickets to be handled, very slow, tedious, and painful. We turn it into something that comes at the fingertips of the organizational information employee, using Microsoft Teams, using Slack, using web user interface. They can fill in their requests, the requests get automated. If they need a human in the loop approval, all the data in the approval is brought in inline. Thousands of such things are running through Torq, I think, every hour, saving countless amounts of hours. Third area where we see a lot of modern enterprises struggle is around cloud security and application security posture. Imagine teams of cloud or application security architects, right? Teams with very strong but not very numerous people dealing with vulnerability lists, findings, etc. Now, for each and every one of these findings, they need to start running around, finding the owners of the assets, understanding whether the misconfiguration or vulnerability is indeed critical for the asset's operational ability, understanding the scope of the impact if indeed the asset gets breached, understanding what could be done. Not everything can be patched, not every misconfiguration can be fixed in line, right? That's a very long and tedious process where the time to resolve sometimes can be measured in weeks. Unless, and this is something we've done with a lot of organizations, you automate it and you bring weeks down to hours, which is an unbelievable result, both in terms of how much less work people need to be doing to reach actually a better result and how much faster we're bringing your whole production system to compliance. So these three, I think, are the most common, but the list is very long.
We just talked about how we're preventing alert fatigue by letting analysts work in tools they already use like Slack and Teams. We know that cybersecurity talent shortage is a huge issue for SecOps teams. How is Torq helping customers retain their analysts?
So that's a wonderful question because indeed you're right. Talent shortage doesn't only mean that it is difficult for us to bring in additional talent, but it also means that it is much more important for us to go ahead and ensure that our existing talent keeps on being highly motivated, very job involved and happy and growing professionally. And this is exactly the soft impact of adopting the automation. The fact that instead of being reactive, going and spending your day all day checking event after event, following up procedures and so on, you actually go on the offense. You plan the automated processing of the events. You proactively research in the wild threats so that you could prepare better for what can be relevant for your organization in your vertical. You are more creative. You feel growing professionally, right? Rather than doing virtually the same thing all day long and then the next day and then the day after that, you are actually doing different things. You are expressing your creativity by being an engineer, right? Turning from somebody who just analyzes things into somebody who engineers automations that analyze things. And overall, if we take a look at the outcomes of adopting hyperautomation for security operations, these are the two main families. First one we mentioned previously, the fact that we can investigate more signals, bringing in a higher fidelity into our understanding of their meaning, making better choices on deciding what's false positive, what should be investigated deeper, making much faster the investigation and understanding of whether we have a real issue on our hands or not, making much faster the process of deploying containment, remediation, and all kinds of solutions, eventually improving mean time to detect, mean time to resolve, and our overall security posture. Now, on the soft benefits is the fact that our existing security talent feels better about their work, feels more motivated, feels more empowered to go ahead and be creative and express their creativity. And the outcome of that, by the way, is yet again a better and more resilient security posture for your organization. Confidence of your business to go ahead and adopt more digital tools, knowing that the security team is not so tired, overworked, understaffed, etc., but actually knowing that they're vigilant, knowing that they are interested in adopting these new tools and providing the secure digital experience with them. This confidence actually turns your organization into a future-proof digital business which is, quite frankly, what each and every business that I personally know of in every vertical that I've ever heard of is currently interested in.
The machines have risen, but just because the machines have taken on the rote task does not mean they've taken over altogether. While machines can handle 90 to 95% of alerts, events, you name it, human intervention is still imperative for the most critical, highest priority signals. The machines, however, enrich the cases with valuable data, minimizing the time and effort needed to take appropriate action. Let's welcome the machines into our SOC. Leonid, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.